Hello, Krystal.
Hello, Sabina.
Welcome to the Raw podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Sorry to put you on the spot. For those that are viewing or listening at home, they will see your entrance. But Krystal is quite a superstar in terms of her skipping. So we made her do a cute little skipping act in her beautiful outfit.
Yes, I will be practicing because I think I should have been able to nail that more. I've been at work for longer. I should have been able to any rope, any outfit, anytime, any day.
Well, yeah, but you're in elf shoes. Like, come on.
I am in elf shoes.
You killed it. And you had very little space.
Thank you. And I didn't break your mirror.
You did break my mirror, which is awesome because that would be bad luck. So, okay, question I ask everybody to start. What does authenticity mean to you?
I'd say just exactly what it sounds like. It's just being real. So, and I think we're in a world where people feel very much like if they don't act like what they think they're supposed to be, that that won't be good enough. And sometimes it can be lonely to be real, but I think being real really just nothing feels better than being yourself. And if you're accepted, fantastic, that feels even better. But if you're real, you're not accepted, then just step away from that energy and go find the people that celebrate you.
That's great advice. Yeah. Great advice. Okay, coffee or tea drinker?
I'm a both drinker. I love my morning coffee. It is everything. And I have recently tried to embrace tea after 12 p.m.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So tea is more. And I started drinking sleepy time tea this week.
And?
Well, other than becoming my nan a little more every year, I like it. It's helping me sleep because I was kind of my mind get so busy, my mind was racing. And I've always been a kick-ass sleeper. Yeah. Can you say yes?
Yeah, you can say any word here.
I'm an elf. Sorry, children. But yeah, so it's coffee and tea.
Coffee and tea.
Yes.
Okay. A favorite book that you've read or are reading currently? Like I know you're a reader, so
I am. I'm not. Mine's more like favorite is a level in my life. But if I had to say books that really
resonated with you?
Yeah. So the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett was amazing. It's a commitment. It's like 1,000 pages, 3 books, but it's so good and it teaches you more about world history than anything. But you follow it along. And Angela's Ashes is amazing by Frank McCourt. Those are like, I'd say 2 of my, and The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Those are like, I'd say for fiction, historical fiction. And then books I think everyone should read just to feel amazing. How to Win Friends and Influence People is so good. Think and Grow Rich, so good. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, so good. So yeah.
Okay. Are you more of a winter, spring, or fall? Or...
It is so hard. Okay, so I don't think unless you're outside on the most beautiful winter day and you're just like, it's warm and it's snowing and you're like, oh my gosh, was that a bird? Like, other than that, winter's horrible. Right? Like, you're just like, you want it in and out. Like, Christmas, trees, beautiful, gone. So I don't think that part of the year is fantastic. But I would say every season is amazing while it's changing, right? So, like, I don't think I could ever live somewhere that didn't have this changing of the seasons.
Right.
But, like, summer's pretty awesome.
But as an elf, should you not be liking?
Well, summer's good because I get more time to make all the toys. Like, winter's awful. It's just like slave driver. Sorry, Santa, but like, who has the time? And then spring, we're just trying to, like, the burnout is real. Fall, you're building up. Like, it's just summer, all day summer.
All right, I have a burning question. I've known you for a while, and I've never asked this. But what's with the nose touch?
So I want to lead this off by saying how disappointed you're going to be.
Okay.
It is my most frequently asked question.
Is it?
We went through a global pandemic, and question 1, what is the nose touch? Question 2, what's going on with the market? Okay, so it just means yes. It's from charades. When you play charades, it's like sounds like whatever, and if you get the answer right or part of it, yes. And we played charades we played charades when I was little, and somehow it just made its way into me. And so, like, I'd be out with friends and they'd say something like, oh, it's cold. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I thought it was just a phase. I have a lot of phases. We can get into that later if you want.
Right.
I don't know how much time we have. But it just became a thing. And then so then I would do it. I would get people to do it in pictures. I have a picture of me and Scott Stratton doing a nose touch.
Really?
And then like people from all over. Um, and this man came up to me at a conference where there was like thousands of realtors. And he was like, Krystal. He said, hi. He's like, girls, this is Krystal. She's the nose touch realtor I was telling you about. So
So it's really become
I thought that was cool, but I
right.
didn't really, I'm like, that's weird. So I told my real estate coach about it and he lost his mind. He's like, this is it. And this is like back in 2018 when I still lived in Guelph. I was considering, like, I was dating Brett. I was starting to build here. And he's like, this is going to be it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, the nose touch. It's going to be everywhere. Your brand. And I was like, you need to calm yourself.
Right.
I am not touching my nose as a brand. And he's like, no, like it's already you. And anyway, so he said it. 2 months later, I had to get my photos done again. I got a bunch of photos, the very last picture. And I was like, can you just work with me? And the guy's like, what? I'm like, just take the pictures. And he's like, okay. And I was like,
And it
he's
became
like,
your
well, and then it became my card and now it's everywhere
right.
because it's very much me. And
It
I
is.
thought it would go, but like my Royal LePage Canada, they had a brokers meeting a few years ago at a conference. And one of the examples they used for all the brokers for branding was my nose touch,
Wow.
which is kind of, I was just
Kinda
like,
cool.
thanks guys. I was like,
Now I know.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I'm going to be doing it, thinking about you all the time. Right?
That's kind of where it started, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And it also makes me stand out because, well, there's like a sea of cards and other realtors
Yes.
who are just like, which is great. But I was like, how am I supposed to like
Well,
break
it
into
brings
this
out your
thing?
personality quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get to know Krystal.
Okay.
Like Krystal. Like not, yeah, like you.
Yes.
Besides what you do and like tell me about your upbringing.
Oh goodness. Okay. So I grew up, or I was born in Montreal. So and I grew up from like never, my parents were never together while I was not a fetus,
Right.
basically. So I was born and I was with my mom and visiting with my dad. And then that's just kind of how I grew up. So Montreal, and then my family was in Ottawa. So my mom and I moved to Ottawa. And I was always, my dad lived in Oakville, so I was always back and forth. And it was for me very, very normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, I was on planes, I was an unaccompanied minor. Like I knew like all the things, all the advice for travelers as a young person. And growing up, it was very much like we moved around a lot with my mom. So a lot. I went to 13 schools total. It was tough. And so I was in Ottawa until I was 33. No, 32. 31. Oh my goodness. Time just flies and you always forget like everything. But yeah, 31. Then I was in Guelph for 8 years. And then I moved to London in 2019. But all of that has created in me a very strong need of to belong. So belonging is a huge value of mine. And it's something I'm always kind of chasing, which is probably, even though I've moved around a lot, I also like things like my real estate company. I've been with the same company since 2012. People will often like, everyone uses Facebook differently. Facebook is like a collection of everyone I've met
Right.
ever. And so like that's my little community. So that's kind of one piece that's huge for me. It's just the need to belong.
So sorry,
No, no.
is your mom still around?
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom lives in Ottawa with my brother. So I have one brother and 2 sisters, but they're all half.
Okay.
So my brother and I have the same mom, and I'm 8 years older than he is. She's in Ottawa, and we almost lost her twice, actually. She had, in 2021, she had breast cancer. And then in 2023, last year, her cancer came back and she had to have like a very scary surgery for her intestines. But she's okay. She got to ring the cancer-free bell.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of we have a really good relationship now. We haven't always,
Right.
but really grateful for
Nice.
the relationship.
And what about your dad? Are you?
Also really close to my dad. So
Yeah.
my dad actually currently is in Spain. He did the Camino
Oh, wow.
with a bunch of guys, and he had a bunch of I think he plays tennis with them. I probably should have asked more about who these people were he was trekking across
Right.
Spain with, but they did 130 kilometers. My dad's always kind of been like my sounding board, my rock, and yeah, it's kind of cool. Like I feel very much like I've had a good um almost a good compass with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that introduced me to Tony Robbins at a very young age, and my sisters weren't so much about Tony Robbins, so I get to have that bond with him.
That's
We walked
sweet.
on fire together
Did you?
in 2016.
Wow.
We did.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna get deep with you now.
Let's go. I'm in.
If you had to share a raw moment in your life that was kind of one of your major raw moments, because we have tons of moments, right, throughout our life, but a kind of a life defining moment that really changed you as a person.
I would say I have a couple. So, the first one, I think a lot of people have been through this type of thing. Actually, probably a lot of people have been through both, but I hadn't been through the second. So the first one was in 2012. I kind of I was in a very short-lived marriage, and it wasn't working. We tried, wasn't working. And I kind of looking back, I see what happened. Like I took the first available chance to get out of the city, get out of the stressful job I was in, and I ended up in a very kind of whirlwind romance type thing,
Mm-hmm.
which brought me to Guelph, Ontario. And when I look back at like the timing, like it was a short time, like it was
Right.
not well thought out at all. But I know, like, for me, I just needed a reason to get out. When that ended, as it was going to, I found myself in this, like, what do I do? Because I had been in Guelph for a year and a half. I'd been working so hard to get my business going, and it had taken like 8 months to sell my first house, and I finally had some traction. And I was like, do I just go back? Do I take like everything I've just worked for? Like, do I just pretend like it didn't exist? Like, I just like erase the clock. Like, what do I do? And sometimes I find like God's tricky because he wasn't in my life yet. I called everything fate. I was very much like, if you had, I'll get into that in a sec, but if you had asked me about God or said the word Jesus to me in 2013, I would have been like, okay, like, how's your cult? 100%.
We talked about this today with some other guests.
100%. But God is tricky because he's always waiting, whether we're waiting or not. And so as I was trying to figure it out, I looked at a few apartments, and honestly, Sabina, I was like crying. So I'm like 33 years old going, I can't live here. Like I'll go outside and I'll feel like I'll be like unsafe every day. And as luck would have it, I had taken, I had a lease and I had put some people into it. And they had a current lease that they were getting out of. And so I called the landlord and I said, okay, like, you know what, let me see if I can help you. And they sent me the photos of the basement apartment, and I went, wait a second. I'm like, I think I can help you, and I think I have a great tenant for you. It's me. And so that was kind of that was good, and it was the perfect thing for me. I ended up being there for a year and a half, but it was in that apartment I decided just to give a chance to watching Lakeside Church online. Because I thought if it is a cult, they're not going to get me online. Right. So I watched the first one, and it was about becoming a better person in relationships. And I was like, well, that's not very culty.
Right.
Like they probably do it on the second week, obviously. So then the next week I was watching it, and it was just this great thing. And that, like, literally I watched this beautiful message, and then I had this fleeting thought, and it was, because up to then I had had kind of some really not great relationships. And I thought, what if I've been trying to put a relationship in this kind of hole in my heart, and that hole is for Jesus? Like, I don't know where that thought came from. It's just like, whoop, in and out.
Right.
I broke down, like bawling, like I just sobbing like I've never cried in my life. And then all of a sudden, I felt this like warm, like hug wrap around me, like just this warmth that I couldn't describe it really, but it was just everything. And in that moment, I knew that was I was going to be okay. And like that was the moment that I was saved, and I became a Christian. And it's tough because there's so many people in my life that are not. And I know that I had to find my own journey and my own way. So I'm just like, you know what? Like it will happen when it's supposed to happen. But for me, like that moment changed everything. Yeah.
And now, do you feel like your life's changed quite a bit since you've allowed God in?
Yes. Oh, yes. Like, and because like that's not where struggle doesn't end the second that you become a Christian,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember there was a time I've had a lot of nice highs and a lot of lows. But there was a moment where I was just like so broken from this situation. And I literally felt like my heart was just like in all these pieces. But like I'm very visual. And so like I'm just like trying to figure it all out. And God's just like, I got you. Like,
Right.
don't you worry. Like I'm not gonna let go until you're healed. Um, and it's just very much like God is everything, but I think I look at it a little differently, in that I think love God and love each other. Not It's not about judgment, it's not about the rules, it's not about what happens in a church, um, because churches are made up of people and people aren't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that we let any sort of like politics or drama or judgment get in the way, then
Changes everything.
you're breaking that bond, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I very much believe that we're all here for a purpose, and we're supposed to figure out what that purpose is. And if we can help each other and help other people and just make the world a better place, like that's kind of, and being authentic, like figuring out what are you supposed to do? Not what is this person supposed to do, and maybe you could do it too, but what makes your
What's
heart
speaking
sing?
exactly?
Because that's where he is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you say the short-term relationship and the divorce was sort of your lowest low in your life, or?
I would say it was probably the one that impacted me. It impacted me enough that like I felt very broken. Um, but what ended up being, yeah, I'd say it's close. It's pretty close to like lowest low, but it became like a pattern. And I don't know if we are gonna have time to talk about it, but I did talk about it on the Mo Monday stage. It was like I started thinking I had a beacon for unhealthy men. Um, and then I just decided, nope. And I stopped everything, went on a dating break, married myself,
Good.
legit, like
Yeah.
with a ceremony and everything. Um, and I went on a dating break until the end of 2016.
And wouldn't you recommend that for every woman, man that ends up
Yes.
like in a divorce or is single, that
Yes.
you really need to get to know you? And I say that a lot, like you need to date yourself first, because how can you look for what you truly want in someone else when you don't even know yourself and what your likes and your wants and needs,
100%.
right?
Yeah. And I think the thing is like we sometimes you have to get to that breaking point where you're open to it, because I had heard a million times over, oh, just love yourself, get to know yourself, love yourself. And I was like, I get it. Like that, like literally, I was such a jerk about it. I'm like, great, give me some advice that I can actually use.
Right.
But it's true. And the thing is, it wasn't just about stopping dating, because all of a sudden I decided that no matter what, like while this was happening, I was going to learn. There's a really good book by Tracy McMillan. Um, and I'll tell you how I found it, but it's called Why You're Not Married Yet. It's not about getting married, but it's called Why You're Not Married Yet by Tracy McMillan. She's been married and divorced 4 times. It's an amazing book. I have given it to so many people because it is a book that really helps you understand culturally, like what has happened in us where we think some things are fine and some things aren't fine. And there's she has a TED talk about, it's called The Person You Should Marry. And I remember, so I come in from like yet another breakup with yet another person that was like, how did this person end up in my life? And I was like, I'm done. So I don't even know how it showed up in on my computer.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like, the person you should marry. I'm like, okay, tell me, who should I marry? Like, I was so mad. And then it goes through this whole thing. And it's like, the person you should marry, who you are going to love more than anything else, give everything to, is you. And I'm like, what?
You
and
waited
then
all that time, you're like
right?
waiting for the answer.
Yeah.
Which,
but it was like you now, not you in 5 minutes, not you when you lose 5 pounds, not you when you get the promotion, not you when you have a better house or better hair or blah, blah, blah. You right now as you are. Because if you can't love you right now, how could you ever expect anyone else to? And I had also met, like, it's crazy. Like, if you look at the links, I
Right.
met this woman named Leslie. She runs Mars Venus Coaching.
okay. Yep.
So I was reading also the book Women Are From Mars, Men Are From Venus, and just like learning about like how men take things versus how women take things. And like kind of like having I always read on the treadmill, so or on the elliptical. So I had to like step down, like realizing like it was like a list of all the things that I did. I was like, oops. Okay. But then I like day 3 or day 2 of the dating break, like we're at a networking event. Oh, hi, I'm Krystal. I'm a realtor. Oh, hi, I'm Leslie. I'm a dating coach. And I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm on a dating break. Like, let's not discuss anything. And she was like, what? Like, a dating break? Like, no dating for me. Thank you. Nice to meet you. You can talk to someone else. We ended up having a really good chat though. And I discovered that I was telling myself all these lies. Like I believed all these things. I just didn't know them here.
Right.
And so when it's subconscious, it messes with you.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, I was attracting people that lied to me because I thought it was okay to lie to me. Or attracting someone that didn't respect me because I didn't think that I was worth respecting. So things like that and instead of just saying I'm worth loving or respecting, she actually made me go and find examples in my life when I was shown love and shown respect. And we kind of broke them that way. But it was also empowering being on the dating break because I still went out, I still saw people, but I didn't care. Like if someone decided they were attracted to me, because in the past I would be single and then I would go out and I would meet a new friend and all of a sudden we'd be dating but I was like, I don't care if anyone is attracted to me or likes me or wants, I am going to be their friend and I'm going to get to know everyone as a friend. And that's it. That's all I'm interested in. And oddly enough, during that dating break, I met my husband.
Wow.
Like 2 days in. I reconnected with him 2 days in. But again, it was just like, hey, haha, but not, right? So I had all these fun encounters with people where I'd go to networking events or go to like a Mo Mondays or go to an event or go to dinner, but it was just friends and it felt so good.
And there's no pressure, right? Like you don't have to label it necessarily, right? So,
but it also just felt good because you get to know the person for who they are, like not because anyone's like no one's putting on like their best behavior or like I've never really dated, but it feels very much like my mom always says, like you can only hold up a mask for so long and then your arm gets tired. So the true you comes out.
Always.
Right?
Always.
But yeah, so yeah, I'd say what led me to the dating break, like it is the lowest. It's just that it also helped me feel better than I've ever felt. So it's hard to call it the lowest, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings me to you are now married and
Yes.
you're married to Santa that was on our
Yes.
podcast.
I have a thing for Santa.
Yes.
Don't tell the other elves.
No, I won't. So the question I have for you, Brett does have a very strong personality, and he definitely is well known and well respected in our community, which is
Yes.
London, Ontario, Canada, for people that aren't from here that might not
Yes.
know you guys.
Yes.
Um, how do you, Krystal, stand alone and not feel like you're always in Brett's shadows? Because I've heard that a few times about, oh, she's just kind of the tag along. And I don't mean any disrespect.
Oh,
It's just one of those things when you've got a husband that has a very strong personality,
for
and
sure.
you do too.
Yes.
But what are some of the things that you do to stand on your own 2 feet and not feel the.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing, like as far as like we kind of take turns as far as like depending on where we are and what we're doing as far as who um like if it's for something for Brett, then I'm very happy to be on the side. And if it's for me, he does the same. Um and it's never really been a big issue. It was harder for me coming into the community um, because at first no one really knew who I was. So luckily we met networking.
Right.
So it's a very comfortable place. But when we would go places, like Brett would come to Guelph too. So it really just is about like cheering each other on. I haven't ever felt like I'm just kind of on the side. Um, I do know that with people, like when there is a big personality, you really get to choose how that you're going to make that affect you.
Mhm.
Because I'm also a strong personality, and I think that's kind of what has attracted us. But it comes down to just cheering each other on and not like I've never had a situation where I've gone somewhere with Brett and felt like I had to like step aside,
Right.
if that makes sense. And
Mhm.
I don't think I would like to be with anyone that would be okay with that, because it comes down to like, are you being respected and protected? And are you doing the same for the other person? So having a cheerleader, which is a big value for both of us, um, I think is a big thing. But at the same time, it feels so good when the person you love is recognized for things. Like it was
Yes.
a really cool, I had to keep a secret, which I am not a good secret keeper. Like I'm a terrible liar. So I had to like make up these like way too elaborate lies, just to make sure that like he could be at something to get an award and that he could look good.
Right.
Like he always looks good, but
But a little extra good that
I
day.
needed a haircut
Yeah.
on him basically, and I need him to dress up because I was like, they're gonna be like, he's gonna be up in front of a room, and he'll be so, I think, disappointed if he's wearing like, I don't know, like a t-shirt, like just. So I told him we were getting photos, and I was like, I need photos for my business, and you're like my real estate husband, so I need a picture of you for the website. And he's like, what? Do you have to do it today? I'm like, well, I do. And I said, like, I need to get these printed. And I get that your life's important, but
But this is really important.
and I made sure I only said it on the phone to him or like not looking at him. Because the problem is like direct face, I'd be like,
He would know. He'd probably know.
But the thing is, I did such a good job that so he came to the meeting. He was running late for the first time ever. He's like early guy.
I know.
And we're all like, what's going on? He's like, I'm stuck in traffic, but he's thinking it's just like a regular old whatever. And then he was in the back, like getting dessert. When they called his name up, he had to like put his plate down and come like all the way to the front.
Hilarious.
And the award he got was for the LEA, so the London
I saw that.
Executive
Yeah.
Association. And it's just again, it's to celebrate all he does and for everyone. And it was a big deal because he doesn't do it for the recognition, but it's nice. Like I
It's
know
nice
how
to
good
be-
it feels when
Yeah.
people do see it.
Well, I'm glad that you have that bond in the sense of you're not feeling like you're in his shadows, because you do stand
Yeah.
alone, right? And I think he
Yeah.
does a great job to include you in so much, and vice
Absolutely.
versa.
Yeah.
So you don't have children of your own.
I don't have biological
You
children.
don't have, but
I'm very, very lucky with our family dynamic because our kids think of themselves as having three parents, and I think of them as my children too. And I think it just depends on the family dynamic. I met them when they were 10 and 12, and we kind of I think we did things properly. Like we sat down with their mom before I met them and just kind of we kind of just laid out my intentions, I guess,
Mhm.
just to say like I wasn't looking to be to act necessarily at the beginning in a parent role
Right.
because my justification was that like these kids are 10 and 12. You guys have raised them. You've done a great job. Like you don't really need help in that regard, but I would love to get to know them and I'd love to be someone else in their life. So that led to me, the oldest of 17 grandkids and the oldest of four siblings, agreeing to not do any discipline or bossiness to our children, even when they were like playing and potentially fighting and possibly like gonna hurt each other. So, and Brett's a little more easygoing.
Right.
And I'd have to say, like, hey, do you think you could maybe ask the kids to stop throwing things at each other so that we can actually go out for the day and not the hospital? Please.
So is that tough for you? That'd be
Yes,
hard.
it was very hard. Like I discipline strangers in the street.
Right.
I'm just like, guys, should we be doing this? No. Like I'm a Sparks leader. I'm just like I am used to kids like listening to me.
Right.
What's nice though is that the one rule we did have is that like I wouldn't be like an enforcer because I think it could have gone either way, meeting them at 10 and 12.
Right.
They could have been like, we hate you. Um, my thing was just I'm gonna respect you and you need to respect me. And that's been the rule. But we're so lucky. Like they're such amazing kids. Claire's about to be 17 on Friday, and Cole just turned 19 in the summer, which is insane.
Yes.
They like to remind us, like, we're like, yeah, like that's like we're adults almost. I'm just like, yeah, no, I understand. It's very scary. But for me, like I just very much have like a family and I feel very strongly about that. I'm a little sad that I didn't get to have them see them when they were younger.
Right.
But at the same time, like we have this amazing bond. I think we have a really good relationship as far as being open and talking about things,
Just so important,
having
right?
fun. Yeah.
Do you ever wish that you had your own children? Was that something that was
It's
in the
so
plans for you, or?
it's so strange. Like so when we had talked about it early on, and I think Brett talked about it here, but I know he talked about it on the Mo Monday stage, so I don't think I'm breaking any secrecy. So Brett had after Claire was born, he had a vasectomy.
Yes, you did talk
Yes.
about it.
It did not go well.
Right.
It was like he almost died. And so we kind of talked about like if somehow by some miracle it happened naturally, we'd be okay with it, but that we're not willing to kind of risk his life
Yeah.
to try. And I think there's a piece of me that wonders if I will regret it, but that is not a big enough reason to me or to Brett to like risk his life.
Right.
We're just like, so you might regret it, and that's why I'm going under the knife. But at the same time, Brett's very much like he's very excited for this next chapter too.
Right.
And I mean, as far as being surrounded by children, we're very lucky that we have my nephew, and then we have our niece and nephew here in London. So like there's lots of opportunity to have like the fun with kids.
Yeah.
But short answer is that no, I don't regret it. I'm hoping that I don't regret it later. But I think having people that love you is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I love our kids very, very much.
You sure do. You do a great job. Okay, if you could bring everybody that you've ever met into one room and you could only look for and you could only look for one person, who would you look for and why?
Oh goodness. Like everyone?
Every single person.
I would look for Brett. 100%. Yeah, he's just the most amazing person I've ever met. And I mean, I think everyone would be there and they could all be like in a circle and I would be like, hey, high five everyone. And then I just like go and hug him. Yeah, no, I think I would definitely look for Brett, which I also think is very cute, but also a very safe answer because I'm not picking out of the other,
No.
like, oh, absolutely. No, no, I don't even, this is recorded. I will have that played back. Everyone will be like, oh, I noticed that you said this person, but not me. Was there a reason? Did you want to talk about it?
It's in this moment, and
And I'm
it's you
like,
being
well,
authentic.
authentically, I will pick my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Safe answer.
Yeah,
Safe
thank you.
answer.
Thank you. Love
Off
you.
the record, who would you? No, just
No,
kidding.
no, it would still be Brett. It would still
Yeah.
be Brett, but like, love you everyone equally.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's my fear. I would never, I don't like big parties with everyone
Mhm.
because like I'm very much like
One-on-one?
let's, well, one-on-one, but also like give my energy. And so anytime when it's like everyone,
It's hard to.
you're like, yeah, and they're just, everyone expects you to still be able to be that person. I'm sure you get that because you have so many things like this. And you're just like, oh, this is everyone together all at once. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost a little overwhelming, but
Yeah. And then you feel like you're not doing enough. So you're
Right.
just like, okay, guys, maybe you talk amongst yourselves. That'll be nice. I'll be back.
if you could go back and tell your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. You are lovable and you're good enough. And anyone that doesn't agree with those two things doesn't get to be in your life 100%. Like it is horrible how widespread the issue is, especially with women, but I would say with everyone. Tony Robbins actually says we all have a fear that we are not lovable and we're not good enough. Everyone.
Yeah.
And if everyone has it, then we should all just stop being so hard on ourselves because whatever we're trying to measure up to, like we have been given this beautiful gift and we have these bodies, like even body image, like your body keeps you alive every day. And we're sitting here like
Tearing it apart.
And being angry because, oh, my jeans don't fit the right way. You're like, okay, so like how many liters of blood just pumped through your veins just so that you could like breathe a few more times? But yeah,
Right.
focus on the jeans.
Okay, that leads me to my last question with you.
Okay.
I can't believe our time is up already. That
Oh,
went
wow.
fast.
That goes fast.
It does go fast. Your favorite thing about yourself?
Ooh. Okay, so other than my imagination, which sometimes gets me in trouble, I would say my ability to laugh so hard I cry. I wish I could do it every day. And if I could, that's better than anything in the world. But yeah, I'd say my heart, but my ability to laugh.
Beautiful. And a quality that you want to improve on or don't like about you? I hate to say that you don't like, but
I would like to improve on my time management skills. I try to like ram so much into every moment and every day. I'm racing around all the time, and I think I would be a much happier person if I wasn't. If I was just able to like do less, show up like 20 minutes early and be like, what do I do with all this extra time? Maybe I'll write a novel, whatever you do at that time. So yeah, time
Amazing.
management.
Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you.
It's just nice to know a little bit more about you. And
Yes.
this has been great.
It has been great. Yes.